Hey, welcome to this week's live video. If you are launching a product soon and you have been torn between how to launch your product, today we're doing a Kickstarter versus Shopify launch. So, how to today is all about that. So, first off, if this is something that you are considering, let me know in the comments below. But apart from that, welcome to today's live video. We had some technical difficulties getting started, where if you have dogs or young children at home that make lots of noise in the background, whatever. So, anyway, if I appear a little frazzled, this is my second attempt at this live video today. So Kickstarter versus Shopify. Why have I chosen this topic? I've chosen this topic because this is the most popular conversation that I've had in the last 2 months with brands wondering whether Kickstarter is right for them or whether actually going straight to Shopify is better for them. So in saying that, this live video today is for you if you want to get really clear on what that decision looks like for you. Okay, so first off, let's get into what is Kickstarter versus Shopify to make sure we're all on the same page. And then I'm going to go into how to make the decision that is right for you. So, what is Kickstarter? Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform. So, if you have a physical product, an idea that you want to bring to market, Kickstarter is great if you want to facilitate a marketing campaign, launch your product on Kickstarter and get pre-orders from around the world. So real people buying your product so that you can then take that money and just kidding, take that money and buy inventory with it, right? And so Kickstarter has become one of the go-to funding methods for small businesses because it allows you to get a ton of social proof. It allows you to build up an audience of people before you launch and to have a public launch, which then opens up more opportunities for you, whether that's taking metrics to investors or that sort of thing, wholesalers, et cetera, et cetera. So Kickstarter has become very popular in that regard and very attractive as a model for small businesses. Okay, so let's take option A, which is using Kickstarter for pre-orders, which is a platform. So Kickstarter in itself is a platform that has a built-in community that allows your product to get discovered by more people. Let's just go to option B. If you've been following my work for a while, you've known that I've been starting to talk a lot about using Shopify and doing a pre-order campaign on your own website. So let's talk about what Shopify is. Shopify is a web building platform. So when you go to e-commerce, when you go to launch your product online and actually own a storefront, it's connected to your domain and you sell, Shopify is an option for where you set up your own storefront. The thing with Shopify is it is something you completely own, and you also can have a longer marketing campaign. But it also, the big difference between Shopify and Kickstarter is that where Kickstarter has this built-in audience, Shopify doesn't have that built-in audience. So in saying that, with Shopify, you're responsible for 100% of your traffic. Okay, so let's look at why people are considering the difference between Kickstarter and Shopify. Kickstarter has been a very popular, attractive model for over a decade. In the last couple of years, it has become extremely competitive, which means more expensive to build up your audience, more expensive to put in the work, and just harder to compete against other brands. And with the rise of e-commerce in 2020, more than ever, more products are launching online than ever before. So the reason why people are starting to gravitate toward doing a private launch on their own website for a couple of reasons. Kickstarter isn't what it used to be. Now, you're going to see by sticking around to the end of this video that some products are still doing really well on Kickstarter. And I definitely recommend in certain situations and certain products, you absolutely go to Kickstarter. But in a lot of other cases, things that used to work 3 to 4 years ago with certain product categories are not getting the traction that they used to. And so because of this, brands with certain products are gravitating toward another launch method that ends up being more fruitful and more profitable for them. Okay. So first, let's look at how to do a Kickstarter campaign. Doing a Kickstarter campaign comes down to you proving to the platform that you have a popular project. So what this means is that when you do a Kickstarter campaign, you want to give it 3 months to build up an audience ahead of time. So you want to spend about 2 to 3 months building up an email list, building up awareness for your product to then launch on Kickstarter. And why you do this is because Kickstarter has this 24-hour period where in the first 24 hours, you need to raise about 30% of your goal in the first day in order for Kickstarter's algorithm to pick you up as a popular project and start showing you to more people. Your success in Kickstarter comes down to how well you do in that first 24 hours. The campaign is very front loaded. And in order to have success in that first 24 hours, you have to spend the time building up a sizable list that you have to make sure is going to convert. Meaning the list you build up, you need to make sure that you're going to get buyers out of it. And over time, what has happened, because Kickstarters become so popular, because there is so much competition on the website, and because of some other smaller things that I can get into in a different video, it's become more expensive than ever to run a Kickstarter campaign. So on average, what you're looking to do, if you are planning on spending or on raising $250,000 on Kickstarter, expect to put in about $50,000 between the video, the email, like building up your email list, right? So because you're putting in, say, $50K for a $250,000 yield, that's not accessible for a lot of brands. Others it is. Like if you have a hardware startup, that's absolutely something you're going to need, right? But in saying that, a lot of brands don't want to spend that kind of money or even the $20,000, $30,000 to build up a list over the course of 3 months to then launch your product and hope that it's going to convert and then bank on hitting certain numbers on Kickstarter, because nothing you raise is really guaranteed on Kickstarter. So a lot of brands don't want to do that. So that leaves the other side of things where, okay, well, what's another model where if you don't want to invest 20 to 30K building up an audience before in building an email list, that flip side is the new model that we've been talking about on this channel, which is using Shopify for pre-orders, where what happens here is you reverse the process. You end up, and I recommend you do this if you already are committing to inventory for that. So we go on Shopify, you can launch your Shopify store. You don't need to build up an email list. You can just launch your product, and then you start taking that money, instead of the 20, 30, 40K that you were going to put into ads to build your email list, you are going to spend some of that money conservatively to drive traffic directly to your Shopify site and acquire customers. So instead of Kickstarter, where you need to outlay 20 to 50K on audience building to then in 4 months hope that sales come in at the volume you're looking for, with Shopify, you can take a more risk-averse method where you can launch your product and then start driving traffic to a storefront and start to get sales in the door a lot faster. And this is where you can really take the crowdfunding model and apply it to Shopify, where you drive people to your website to get them to pre-order your product, in essence, still helping fund your pre-orders and your inventory. So that's where the model differs. Is a few things you want to ask yourself when you do this is you want to see, number one, is my product right for Kickstarter right now? Okay, and we'll get into this in a second. Is my product right for Kickstarter right now? Number two, if it is right for Kickstarter, do you want to spend the $20,000 to $50,000 on building up a list and going to launch? And again, this isn't for most people. Some it is, because the benefits outlined earlier in doing a crowdfunding campaign, doing a Kickstarter campaign earlier in this video, is all about getting that public social proof, getting a lot of eyeballs on your project fast, getting in front of a community of people, and getting that social proof because you are affiliated with the larger platform. So with that, high risk comes high reward. High risk in you're spending a lot of money up front in hopes of getting sales in the door in a few months, right? Versus Shopify is more for those that actually want to test and build slowly. So with Shopify, again, you're responsible for 100% of your traffic, but you're able to spend at a much lower volume to then get people to come in that way. Okay. So coming down to Shopify versus Kickstarter, number one, is my product right for Kickstarter? If so, is the method, am I set up to fund a marketing campaign to then build an email list and take us to launch? Or the other side is, if it's right for Kickstarter, but I don't want to invest that kind of capital and I don't need a big launch, that's where you can look to attract more of a healthier model for your goals. You choosing Kickstarter versus Shopify is a personal choice depending on what your end goal is. Is your end goal validating your product? Is your end goal a huge launch for investors? Depending on where you're looking to go, that will determine what platform feels better for you and what launch method feels better for you. And of course, if you ever have a question of what is right for you, or you're just having a hard time diagnosing this yourself, feel free to tag me in the comments or send me an email. Everything is below this video in the resource section. So apart from that, the last thing I wanted to mention in this video, or the last point, is what products are right for Kickstarter. Okay, so what products are right for Kickstarter? When you go to Kickstarter.com, you're going to see a plethora of different categories and different projects, from journals to publishing to film to design to tech to drones to you name it, all sorts of physical products. But not all physical products or categories are created equal. The best projects that I say, or the best kind of products that are best for Kickstarter right now, are ones that directly interest the Kickstarter community, and products that are not super saturated. So here's what I wouldn't launch on Kickstarter, unless if you're going in with a big audience. Like if you're going in because you're a best self co, or you are an intelligent change with their 5-minute journal, or you're an author like Brandon Sanderson. If you're coming in with no platform and you've just started building your audience, then another journal is not going to make a big splash on Kickstarter. And I think that your money's better suited building up your audience and getting on your own website on Shopify. If you are launching another elastic, like another fitness band, another something that's been done kind of 100 times on their platform, it's not novel enough anymore. So what products do well on Kickstarter, and which ones do I recommend you kickstart? Well, I recommend that you stick to board games. Anything fantasy, RPG, board games, Kickstarter community loves it. Love, love, love. So definitely stick to it for that. Number 2, design and tech products. Tech kind of needs crowdfunding, because if you have the right tech product, when you go into developing the hardware, the prototypes, the molding, you need a significant amount of money to go to manufacturing. So because of that, bringing a hardware product to market absolutely makes sense for you to outlay $50,000 on a marketing campaign, because you get the expected yield of $250,000 or higher. And that's absolutely the kind of minimum bar you need for any electronics product. So unless if you are you're self-funding or you have investment, you will need deeper pockets for the tech electronic space. And luckily, those products still do super well in crowdfunding. So when I'm looking at a spread of products across my desk and I have to choose yes for Kickstarter, no, or yes for Shopify, no for Shopify, I always say for tech, wearables, or design, or board games, or Brandon Sanderson, yes for Kickstarter. And by the way, if you guys haven't seen the Brandon Sanderson campaign, just Google "It's Time to Come Clean" and watch his YouTube video and you will be blown away. I so nerded out over that on a last live video I did. It was so fun. But back to here. So any one of those categories, I say, assuming that this is market validated, definitely go to Kickstarter. But anything else that you have, another journal, another jacket, another something that's just not as unique, and you're not coming in with a huge platform to begin with. And by platform, I mean that you have established audience going into this, you're an existing brand with a big email list, and the cost of building up your list enough to get the funding just may not make sense for you. Okay, but apart from that, thank you for sticking with me to the end. So I have a question. If you would like me, because I've been thinking of doing this. Ready? I was thinking of putting together a quiz that helps you identify which platform is right for you. It'll be a set of questions where you can self-diagnose and say, well, based on your situation, based on your budget and your goals, which platform is right for you. If you would like me to put that together, because like everything, I want to validate things before I put them in market. If that's a tool that you would really love to see, let me know below and we'll go from there. Another thing I'm going to link below is a link to actually a video that you can see up here, which is how to budget for your Kickstarter campaign. And in that, we have a very sexy spreadsheet that will help you actually budget for your Kickstarter campaign, depending on the scope that you like, how much funding you're looking at getting. So I'm going to drop a link to that below, but also be sure to check out that link here to that video and go from there. But apart from that, thank you for your patience. We've had some technical difficulties all week with live videos, so I look forward to smooth sailing from now on. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe because we are ramping up the video content that we put out for you to help you grow your small business. And apart from that, if you're looking for help actually implementing your Kickstarter or Shopify thing yourself, be sure to check out some of the links below. We've got a ton of freebies and information on how to book a consult with us. All right. Anyway, happy Thursday, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers.